Good afternoon, everyone. By my watch, it is 12:03, so we will go ahead and get started. It looks like perhaps word got out, but we will be recording this today, and then posting the webinar to our website. So whether you are watching this later or you are here with us right now at noon, our intent is that this is a good overview, high-level overview of what you need to do in order to run for municipal office. I am Claire Woodall. I am the Election Commission's Executive Director, and I've been with the Commission for about 10 and a half years. I will let Paulina introduce herself, and then we will also get started.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad that you're here. Again, I'm Paulina Gutierrez. I'm the Deputy Director for the Milwaukee Election Commission. I've been here almost about a year, so looking forward to presenting today. Thank you.
All right, so again, we're scheduled for an hour today. If we end up going over, we will continue. And again, if you have to go, we understand. We will post this to our website as soon as possible this week. This is our very first time doing a webinar on how to run for municipal office, so we just aren't quite sure exactly how long it will take us. If you have questions as we go through, please stick them in the Q&A section or the chat, whichever one is easier for you. If you need us to repeat something or something's not entirely clear, please make sure you put that in the chat so that we catch it in real time. For broader or more specific, well, for more specific questions, we will likely not get to them in this 1 hour time frame. Instead, what we will do is we will review all of the questions that you submit, and then we are going to publish when we post this video. We'll also publish a frequently asked questions document and include the answers to any questions that you might think of during the webinar. So again, you can send the questions via chat or via the Q&A section, but if something is unclear as I'm speaking or Paulina's speaking, please stick them in the chat. One of us will be monitoring it and flagging it for the other person to clarify something. Today, we're going to do a very high-level overview of basically the required forms for ballot access, the nomination paper process, and what we're looking at when we're reviewing nomination papers, campaign finance reporting, which Paulina will go over in detail, but the reports that you have to start to submit once you register a committee with us, and then some important dates, phone numbers, and emails. As we go through this, we want to make sure that you feel the Election Commission is accessible to you. Part of democracy is making sure that anyone who wants to run has the tools and the means to do so. So we are here to be a resource. We're going to go over many of the online resources available to you and the basic way in which to fill out some of the forms. So if you've done this before, you're an expert, a lot of this will be very basic for you. But again, we want to make sure that running for public office is accessible to anyone. With that said, we are not here to provide legal advice. One of the reasons we are going to wait and publish a frequently asked questions document is oftentimes some of the questions will be a judgment call that we would really refer a candidate to his or her attorney in order to seek guidance. So we do want to make sure that we're crystal clear. We're here to be a roadmap and show you how to navigate the resources, but we cannot provide you any type of legal advice. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Paulina.
Thank you. So your email, there you go. So just to add to that as well, so the Milwaukee Election Commission is responsible for, as a filing officer for the alderperson, all citywide offices, and the Milwaukee School District. County positions go to the Milwaukee County Election Commission, and then state go to the Wisconsin Election Commission, state and federal. So I'm just going to quickly walk you through some of the places to how to navigate our website. What are some important details and guides that you really need to have in your possession, if not already. So I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see my screen. So when you first navigate our website, if you go to city.milwaukee.gov/election, oh no, is it elections? Claire, sorry.
You just misspelled Milwaukee.
Oh, well, that explains it. Look at me. This is being recorded.
Just
Yeah,
go to milwaukee.gov/election.
there we go. Okay. All right, look, I did it. See, everyone can do it. So you get here, move that, and we have made a couple changes to our website, but you'll look down here, there is a place to see who is already filed for the 2024 spring election right here. But if you come down to the candidate corner, this is where you can start navigating parts of the website. So when you go to how to run for public office section, and you'll come down to this little section right here, you can look under qualifications. So what needs to happen? What are the qualifications for someone, minimum qualifications for someone to run for a local office? One, you have to be a minimum of 18 years of age, you have to be a US citizen, and residency is for the older persons, you have to be living in that district by the time you take office. And also not have been convicted of a felony in any court in the United States for which you have not been pardoned. So those are your basic minimum qualifications. They're on our website here. And then to get the other important forms, you're going to click on your candidate packet forms. Now, we encourage everyone to visit our website, click on all the links, read what you have to. We do have packets here available at the office, but the best place to get information is here. So when you're on the candidate packet form, the number one form you see on top here highlighted is the 2024 spring election ballot access checklist. So this one is specific just for City of Milwaukee local offices. It's a PDF, you'll download it, and this basically walks you through the process on what forms you need and how to, and the deadlines for accomplishing and completing all of these forms. So, and there's conveniently links to each of the forms on this form as well. And then these forms, all these important forms are also available throughout our website as well. And again, this is specific to the City of Milwaukee local offices. So then to understand these forms, the Wisconsin Elections Commission has a lot of useful documents and manuals that are going to be really important for you to download and read. And we always encourage, read the documents first. If you still don't understand, we're happy to help answer questions for those documents. So one of the guides is the Campaign Finance Overview Manual. This was just recently updated by the Wisconsin Elections Commission. So it's called Local Campaign Finance Overview for Local Candidate Committees. See, you'll notice it was updated in September 2023, but this provides you a whole background about campaign finance, reporting, what to report, the rules and regulations. And so this is a really important document for you to have and download. And just to note, when you are filing to run for office, and we'll go into more detail about what campaign finance is, but when you create a candidate committee, even if you don't make it on the ballot or you don't win, that committee is still registered and you still have obligations to report activity on those committees, regardless of whether or not you're in an office. So that's one important form, that's campaign finance. The next one, which is about nominations papers, is nomination papers ballot access procedures. So this is also from the Wisconsin Election Commission. I went on my site, it links to the Wisconsin Elections Commission site, and you can download that. That's also been recently updated in October 2023. Very important to read through this, 12 pages long, walks through the process, eligibility, what our role as a filing officer. And you'll notice here it says ballot access checklists. The state also has their own checklists, and we have ours on our website. We encourage you to use ours since it's more local and attributes to what offices we are responsible for. And then again, walks you through those required documents. So those are two very important guides that we encourage you to download and read and get comfortable with as you're navigating these forms. And then the other important place to be, so back to the candidate packet form document, are the state statutes. So Wisconsin state chapters 5 through 12 govern the entire election procedure. And so we have a link here. It's really important to review these. You click on the link, you go to the Wisconsin Election Commission site, and it breaks down each chapter and what's it about. So you'll see chapter 8 is about nominations, primaries, elections, for example. post-election actions, election notices. So a lot of this information is helpful as you're navigating. So those are just some really easy links for you to get through our website. But run for public office and campaign finance are probably the two areas on our website that you're going to be if you are interested in running for a local office. So that's just a high level overview. I'm going to pass it on to Claire, who's going to walk through some of those important documents that we quickly revealed today.
All right. So the first step, if you are going to run for public office, is as soon as you have the intent to run, but especially before you are able to spend or receive any money, no matter what, doesn't matter whether you're going to reach the exemption threshold. The important thing is before you are able to receive any money or spend any money on a campaign to run for local office, you have to register your campaign committee. So to do that, this is the form on the screen, is the campaign finance registration statement for local candidate committee. I'm just going to flip back up here. So where you get that from is under run for public office. And then underneath, we'll remove this today, but underneath step 1 is file a campaign registration statement, and it will open up this blank form. I'm not going to go through the entire form, but the very first time you register your committee, you will say that it is not an amendment. Subsequently, anytime you're doing updates, whether it's an update to your phone number, your email address, your treasurer, which election you're running for, it ends up being an amendment to your original registration statement. The committee name is required for all candidates, and that's because this is what you're going to print anytime you're doing any type of communication, whether it is on a yard sign, on a mailer. You have to put who paid for and approved the message. So this is where you are going to come up with your committee name. We recommend things, we oftentimes see friends of and the candidate, or Claire Woodall for Alderwoman, or Claire for Milwaukee, things like that. But you can, if you want, we have seen some people just put their name here, but make sure that you're coming up with something where someone will know who paid for the messages that you're sending out. This is also where we're going to pull the information that becomes public on our website when we list who's registered to run for office. So the email address and the phone number that you list here is where we're pulling that information for. It's your committee's contact information. You're also going to have a mailing address for your committee. This could be a PO box, it could be an office address. It doesn't have to be your address in the city. Then you're also going to want to know which bank you will be tracking all of your contributions and expenditures from. And you're going to list that bank's information in A8 through A12. Then you're going to also determine who your treasurer is, who's going to be supporting your campaign and reviewing your finances and filing the campaign finance reports that are going to become required once you register your committee. Candidates can serve as their own treasurer, so that's entirely up to you. But if you're serving as your own treasurer, you should list your information in this section. A very common section that gets overlooked is right here in A28. I'm going to zoom in, is whether or not your committee is going to be exempt. If you are going to make contributions or accept contributions or make disbursements in excess of $2,500, then you are not eligible to be exempt. So if you're going to spend or receive more than $2,500 in a calendar year, then you're going to say, no, you're not eligible for exemption. If you do not plan on spending or receiving more than $2,500, then you will mark, yes, I am eligible for exemption. If this changes and suddenly you decide, oh, it's going well, I'm going to spend more money, get more Facebook ads, then if you go over that $2,500 Amount, you should immediately file a new campaign finance registration statement. It would be an amendment, and you would update that you're no longer eligible for exemption. But we need you to fill out yes or no in this box. Under the section B for the candidate information, this is your specific information. It's how we're going to contact you, and it should be your residency information. Under office sought, this is what office you're running for. So it might be alderperson, comptroller, mayor. For all local offices, there is no political party. So you can leave B2 blank or put NA. For B3, the election date is always the spring election date. So if you are watching this for the 2024 spring election, it's going to be April 2nd, 2024. That is because until we certify candidates for ballot placement, we don't know if there's going to be a primary or not. So it's always the spring election is when you are putting the election date, even though you may end up appearing on the spring primary, depending on how many candidates there are. Then again, this is going to be your candidate name. This should be your legal name, the email and phone number that you want the election commission to contact you at, and then your mailing address. Going to flip back over here. If you are holding another office, you can have one campaign committee for more than one office. You would list it here. It's very unusual though, and we're happy to answer questions on an individual basis. But you should be answering whether this is your only committee or if you have another committee. If you have another committee, again, this would be if you held an elected office, perhaps you have to hold an elected office, but then you're creating a new committee to run for this new office. Section C, you're going to review and certify this information, and then your treasurer should print and sign their name, and the candidate prints and signs. This is the form, again, that will register your committee. It should be filed anytime you are beginning to spend or receive money to run for office. It does not matter the amount of money. The next form is the declaration of candidacy. So I'm going to slip back here. Step 2, the declaration of candidacy. This form can be filed anytime no later than the deadline of filing nomination papers. So for this election, that is going to be January 2nd of 2024. You must file the declaration of candidacy. This form is essentially telling us where your current address is and then how you want your name to appear on the ballot. So if this is your first time filing this form for this election, then this is not an amendment. You'd say no. If it's you've changed your mind or you moved during the campaign process, then you would say it's an amendment. You're going to print your name here. Then you will say that you are a candidate for the office of and list the office, including the district, branch, or seat number. So if you're running for mayor, you would say mayor of Milwaukee. If you're running for alderperson, say alderperson district 3, for instance. And then you do not list anything for representing. This, again, we are not a partisan election. All local offices are nonpartisan. You're going to then certify that you meet the eligibility to run for public office, which Paulina showed you where the qualifications are on our website. And then you are going to print your actual municipal residence for voting purposes. This is where you're actually living and sleeping. This cannot be a mailing address. I'll flip back over here. On the campaign finance one, this can be a mailing address for the candidate information. But on the declaration of candidacy, you have to use your home address. Then, and this is the most important part, you're going to list how you want your name to appear on the ballot. It can be any combination of your first name, middle name, or initials, or a nickname can replace a legal name. So everyone knows me as Claire Woodall, but my legal name is Sarah Claire Woodall. So up here, if I was running, I would be listing my legal name as Sarah Claire Woodall, and then I wish to appear on the official ballot as Claire Woodall. If you want your middle initial, you have to put your middle initial. If you want junior or senior or the third, you have to list that on this form. So take your time and make sure you're putting how you want your name to appear. Do you want Robert or do you want Bob? Things like that. You can use nicknames, but you want to make sure you print very legibly here because we are going to be looking at this form as we proof the ballots. Then you're going to sign when you are in front of a notary. So do not sign this form unless you have a notary present. You can fill everything out up until your name, how it will appear on the ballot. But then if you don't have a notary, you can come to our office to sign this form. We have notaries present. All of our staff are notaries. So you can come anytime during our business hours with everything filled out except for your signature. Bring your photo ID and we will have you certify that all of this information is correct. And then we will notarize the form for you. If you have a notary, someone's a friend or another business person, you can have this notarized and you can mail this form in to us, but it must be notarized. All right. So those are the first two forms. And usually people go ahead and file both of these forms at the same time as soon as they decide that they're going to run for office. But if you aren't spending or receiving any money, hypothetically, you can turn in the campaign registration statement, the CF1, the declaration of candidacy, and your nomination papers all at once. So we're going to go to nomination papers, which is the most the piece of paperwork that makes candidates most nervous, I will say. And that's because oftentimes when you are running for office, there's an opportunity for other candidates or members of the public to file challenges. And oftentimes the challenges are related to your nomination papers. So nomination papers and the declaration of candidacy and your campaign registration statement will all be due by January 2nd at 5 p.m. That's always the first Tuesday in January at 5 p.m. That is a very important deadline to remember. You don't want to be a minute late, so please make sure you plan your day accordingly. For nomination papers, you can use the nonpartisan office one, and there will be a document that is fillable where you can use this and type it. Whoops. What we recommend is that if you are going to have multiple people circulating nomination papers, or really anytime you're circulating nomination papers, have the header pre-filled. You'll fill out all of this information, and then you can email it to our office, and we will be happy to do a cursory review to make sure everything looks accurate. Then we'd recommend you print out blank copies with the header pre-filled so that everything is consistent when you're circulating nomination papers and you don't accidentally make a mistake on one page that could then disqualify them. On the nomination paper, your residential address is required up here in this top field. So do not list a mailing address. You would want to list your residential address. Then you're going to put whether it's, for us, it'll always be in the city of Milwaukee. If you're using a mailing address where you want people to contact you, you can then list that in the next box. You're going to then list your zip code, and then this is going to be a spring election. And again, the election date that you're going to use is the spring election date. You are not going to use the primary date, because at this point, we don't know if there will be a primary for your office. For the title of the office, if you're running for alderperson, or we recommend putting alderperson or alderwoman, alderman, please put alder though. It's not common council, so we do recommend that you keep that consistent. Then you're going to select the district and you would type in, let's say I'm running for District 5. And then the name of the jurisdiction or district would be City of Milwaukee. And that is a complete header up top. You don't have to put an A right here if the address is the same. Then you are going to begin circulating your nomination papers. If you would like, you could also pre-fill the city. We see some people go ahead and fill out Milwaukee for every single, we'll already do that for you, for every single line. Highly recommend this because then it will catch a voter's attention if they start to sign and they realize, oh, I live in Wauwatosa, I actually can't sign your papers. You can also go ahead and put that the date that they're signing is in 2023 if you wish, but you could be circulating on January 1st or January 2nd still, so that's entirely up to you. You cannot leave your nomination papers sitting on a counter. You have to have someone who's personally circulating them. You do not have to circulate all of your own nomination papers. Instead, you can have friends, family, anyone who wants to circulate. The circulator does not have to be a member of the district in which you're running. They don't have to live in the city of Milwaukee. Technically, they don't even have to live in the state, but they have to be a qualified voter, which means a US citizen, 18 or older, and if they were a resident of the state, not disqualified from voting. And then they are able to circulate your nomination papers. You are not going to have them fill out any information under certification of circulator until after they're finished collecting the signatures. So they will get the voter to sign, they will print their name, and then the voter will print their address. They cannot use a PO box here. This has to be where they would vote from. And then the voter must put the date that they're signing. The people signing the nomination papers do have to live in the district in which you're running. So they have to be a City of Milwaukee resident for any city office. And if you're running in a specific alderperson district, they have to be a resident of that district. That is extremely important. Very, very important, and the biggest mistake that we see. So in order to verify that, if you are, let's say, going door to door, or you're going to go to a store and stand outside, we do have, if you go to our website, if you go under election information, it's under aldermanic and school board maps. If you open this, you can open up the aldermanic district maps in a PDF or the individual ward maps, but we have also created a Google map that you should be able to access easily on a cell phone. I'm going to show you that if you click on it to make it large, I've clicked that little square button, it will take you here to Google Maps. And if I can, whoops, sorry, with my sharing screen, I apologize. I think my Zoom is covering up where I need to look up an address. I'm going to share my screen on a different screen in order to problem solve this. All right. That's what I couldn't get to. I couldn't get to the search bar. If you click this search bar, you can type in an address. Let's see. So you can say from Google, and it will actually right here without moving anything, pinpoint which district that's in. So that address is in District 5. I'm going to do 2520 North 60th Street. That address is right on the line if you're wanting to scroll up, but in District 10. So we thought this would be a more user-friendly visual way for you to check addresses. And this is what we will be using when we check your nomination papers if you are specific to a district. It's new this year, and we are hoping that it will be very helpful for you. But again, I clicked on that View Larger Map button. And then to start looking up addresses, I clicked on the magnifying glass and then typed in the address. Oops, it'll start to pre-fill for you. And then I do from Google in order to not have it zoom in on the map for you to see it on that larger map. All right. So then we have gone over the basics of the nomination form. Once you have filled it up, now your circulator may collect 4 signatures or they may collect all 10. The important thing is that all of the dates are listed next to the voter's signature, and then that the circulator does not certify this paper and date it until the day of or after the last date on the paper. So if you were circulating this paper on December 5th and December 6th, you would have 12/5 and 12/6 of 2023 listed on these lines. And then this date down here for circulator of certification of circulator must be 12/6 or later. You cannot pre-sign this the first day that you're circulating and then continue to collect signatures after that. The name of the circulator, they should put their address where they live. It must include the number, the street, and the municipality, and then they should sign it. You don't want to have anyone number their pages because you can have multiple circulators, and then you will number them for us at the very end. The big question that I just realized I skipped over is how many signatures you need when you are running for office. So again, you go to run for public office, you scroll down, candidate packet forms, and then the spring election ballot access checklist. This is the easiest way to find it. It's listed on the state's website and on our website in multiple places. But this document is giving you the specific dates for deadlines for this election, and then the number of required signatures. So as you turn in signatures, you can turn signatures in on a rolling basis if you want. If you want us to review them on an ongoing basis, you can submit batches of 50. We don't accept batches less than 50, but you can do batches of 50. And your minimum that you have to have certified are 200 if you are running for alderperson, or 1,500 for any of the citywide offices. The maximum that you need is 400 or 3,000. So what this means is that if you turn in 400 signatures to us, we are going to review and certify all 400. So your total tally might be that you had 276 of 400. You still met that threshold, even though 130 or so were not within the district. If you would like to turn in over 400 signatures, state statute currently says that you can. We will not review those extra ones unless you haven't reached that minimum threshold. So you can turn in 500 signatures. We're going to review the first 400, but if you only have 198 valid signatures, we'll go to that supplemental list and review as many as needed to get you over the threshold. Sorry. Now I'm going to show you a completed nomination paper. So this one was from this past spring. Everything is filled in correctly up here, although hypothetically, technically, this was a school board director, but no one challenged that, and it was clear that it was for District 3. Then this person, so they were running for a specific district, so the addresses had to be in District 3. We must have a signature. It does not have to be legible, but the printed name needs to be legible. It can't just be D. Lowry. We need to know who is DeMille Lowry. We need to know that it's DeMille Lowry, even though she signed her name D. Lowry. And then again, this is their residential address. We will review these, and we review every single line. We have codes, DQ, and we will provide you these codes as well. But DQ2 means that we validated this address and it's not in the district. And then we normally put the district it is in. That was in School Board District 1. DQ2, School Board District 2 was the correct district for that one. And then we also will have codes for if it's just not valid. So for here, both of these voters printed their names, but they put their phone numbers instead of an address. So we couldn't confirm that they lived in the city of Milwaukee in School Board District 3. Again, notice this person circulated on January 2nd, 2023, and the circulator signed that she circulated on January 2nd, 2023 and signed. If any of these dates fell after January 2nd, they would be invalidated as well. So it's very important that you're reviewing these before you turn them in. If you discover that someone has circulated and the voter does not live in the district, you are welcome to take a Sharpie and disqualify that signature yourself so that we don't spend time checking it. It will expedite the process for us to verify and validate your signatures much faster, but it's not required. Again, you can see sometimes they get messy. So this person, they just marked through because they discovered, oh, that person doesn't live in the district, and they marked it out for us. Same with line 4 here. And again, it's okay if you have 3 signatures on some pages, 10 on another. That is all fine. So that's a broad overview of nomination papers. After you have filed your nomination papers, your CF1 and your declaration of candidacy, that is all due Tuesday, the first Tuesday in January by 5 p.m. We will certify as soon as possible, but we do try to do so within 24 hours of you filing. The last thing that you have to worry about is the statement of economic interest. For all municipal candidates, except for school board, you're required to file a statement of economic interest. This is not due until Friday at 4:30. It's the 3rd day after the deadline for filing nomination papers. It has about 5 pages of instructions with explanations of what you should be listing, and then you will fill it out and sign it. This is filed with our office when you are on the ballot. I'm going to now stop sharing and hand that over to Paulina to go over the campaign finance reporting that becomes required once you have registered your committee.
Thank you. Okay, so you have completed your paperwork. You have filed a CF1. You've noted that you are not exempt. And so now you are required to do campaign finance reporting. So we're going to share my screen again to walk you through our website. And then while I'm doing that, Claire, I just want to make sure you saw that there are like a couple questions that could probably be answered. If not,
yes.
Perfect. Okay, so here we are on our website. When you're doing campaign finance, it's separate right here. You can directly access, and let me move this here so it doesn't look like I'm talking off my left-hand side. You can directly access the reports right here on the tab. You can also review reports that have been submitted. We are in the process of updating this system, but it will be up for April. So these are for active offices. And when you hover over some of these links, you can actually click on there to access their report. So we're going to go back to campaign finance. And then here's also a link to contribution limits. So what you'll notice about our website is we do attempt to link in multiple places all the things that you need so that as you're reading, you should be able to access these documents. So if you're panicking and you're like, oh, where did they find that form again? You just kind of go through and it should be popping up in some part of our website. And then, of course, we do our best to keep our links up to date to make sure that the information is current. But if you're finding that a link is not working, please just give us a call. We'll update it.
Paulina, we're just seeing your desktop right now.
Oh, okay. Well, that
Yeah,
explains.
we did see your,
Yeah, there we go. Sorry. Does that work?
yes.
Okay. I thought I could move the whole thing, but I guess I can't. Um, where was I? Okay, so you click on campaign finance. I was just noting here, you can see all the reports that you need. You click here. This is where people that have offices that have filed and candidates that have filed for specific offices. If you hover over the links, you can click on there. And then the key for what these codes mean are up here. And as I mentioned, we are making some changes to this, but it'll be up for the April cycle. So we go back to the campaign finance website. You click here. Now we went through the CF form. And what we did here is there are two types of forms. There's the Excel form and the PDF template. The PDF template would then be handwritten. We recommend using the Excel template. And I'm just going to walk you through quickly what that looks like. So here's the Excel template. When you click on the link here, or any of the links, it'll ask you to download the file. And you say save. It should be right here. And then you open it. And what it does, and what Word does, or what computers do, is that they disable the system, or like prevent you from being able to edit it. So you'll see here, protected, be careful, for viruses. But our documents come from the Wisconsin Election Commission. So you want to enable editing. So it takes a little bit of time. Okay. Now it says it's not. There we go. All right. And what I would recommend doing right away is saving your document. And I would recommend that you save the document. We're just going to save it in my downloads. And I would save it as your last name. And then what reporting period? So January, continuing. And we'll go through the file. 2024. And now you have your Excel sheet. Now, the nice thing about this document is that it's easy to click on, is this a report an amendment? Yes or no. So you have to unclick, but it should be at no already. You write your committee name. So this is important to put, and it happens a lot of time, to put the name of your committee, not just the candidate's name, since that's how we track it. The mailing address for the committee, and then the email and daytime phone number. And I do want to stress what Claire brought up previously. If we need to get a hold of you, if there's an issue or question about your reports, or if we haven't seen your reports and we need to find out what's happening, having up-to-date email and contact information is very important. And so if you are changing phone numbers or emails, you need to note that on your campaign, or I'm sorry, on your CF1, your campaign finance registration statement. So it's so important to have that information. Sometimes people will put a campaign email address and then they're not checking it. We need to have something where we can get a hold of you. So that's important. And then the reports here. Now, this comes from the Wisconsin Election Commission. So the state has requirements for a September reporting, but you don't have to worry about that because you're a local candidate. Local candidates are filing basically twice a year on non-election years, and then 4 times a year if also there's a pre-primary. So you need to know which one of these it is, then your report year. And if you're intending to shut down your committee, you would then here note whether or not it's a termination report. But that obviously would only happen one time and you'd be done. So down here, you'll see these totals. And what's nice is if you see this little tick mark here, this means that this form will automatically auto sum your information. And you'll know here, this is the cover sheet. And then down here are all of your schedules where you would enter information. And so as what we recommend is once you fill out this top part, now you want to come in here and start entering all of your disbursements, expenses, your income, interest if you have it, loans, and that all goes here. And on our website, we have this nice kind of summary that explains how to use a system, some helpful tips when this is basically me reiterating what we just told you. And then you can go through each of these links and it walks you through what you need to do and what needs to be reported at a high level overview, higher than what you would find in your local candidate. Oh, yeah, wait, can you see it this way? Here we go. I guess you can, never mind, I tried. But the local candidate committee overview document is also really important to have. That walks you through in detail what you need to report. And then here we summarize it on our webpage. And so again, you save it ahead of time, hit save a couple of times, make sure you're not losing your work, and then you can email it to us if necessary. And so the last one shows you, again, really important, double check your work. More often than not, most of the mistakes we find are arithmetic errors. The totals aren't adding up. If we do a cursory review of these reports. If we find issues, we will let you know. And you can if you find mistakes, let us know and send an amended report. These do then get posted and are available to the public to review. And again, this is if we find that there are violations, we have an obligation to report it to the Wisconsin Ethics Commission. So this, a couple things to note too, we can no longer accept photos of your reports. You really need to submit those as a scanned document in one document. We won't accept photos. They need to be legible if you're going to handwrite. A thing to note too is if you download the PDF version, which is the handwritten version, there is a walkthrough here. This is basically repeating what's on our webpage, but it's also here too on the paper document. And so this is the one that's handwritten. And it walks you through each of the schedules and what you're supposed to enter. So that's also another helpful guide.
Paulina, where would I find contribution limits for how much
Thank you.
someone can contribute?
So contribution limits are in multiple locations on our website, but if you come here to campaign finance resources, it's here. It's also under Run for Public Office packets too. But here we've broken it down by aldermanic district. And these contribution limits will be until June 30th. Claire, is that right? The date? Yep, through June 30th. These are active contribution limits. So for this cycle, this is your limit for the office that you would be running for.
And that's because if you're on the April ballot, your next campaign finance report would be due on, the reporting period goes through June 30th, and then it will reset.
Right, thank you. And then you'll see here are the contribution limits for citywide offices. And then of course the school board is different down here, but there are no school board elections this cycle. So this is a place on our website to guide you through it. And then when you go back to the campaign finance website, you will see here are the campaign finance report due dates. So like I said, even if you're not in office or you didn't make the ballot, now that you've registered a local candidate committee, you do have an obligation to report your activity during those reporting periods. So these are the due dates. And so for 2024, since there are no more reports due this year. But if you come to our link here as well, campaign finance report dates, it takes you to the Wisconsin Ethics Commission, and you can see the deadline. So then, like you'll notice here, the next report is due January 2024. So all those individuals that just registered a campaign committee for the first time, you have to submit your campaign finance report to continuing 2024 on January 16th. And then it shows you here what the reporting period is. So this right here, Schedule A, is the most important for you for local candidates. These other ones are for state and federal. And so you'll see here, there is no fall pre-primary, there is no September and no fall pre-election for local candidates. So it really is just the 4 reports in 2024. January, the spring pre-primary, spring pre-election, and July, continuing 2024 report. So once you get this information and you've completed your campaign finance report, and you've got to get it in by the deadline. So you can email it to campaign report@milwaukee.gov. Obviously, if you send it to Claire or I, we'll make sure it gets through. You can, it needs to be in our email box by 11:59 on the due date. If you are hand delivering it, you bring it to the office here. It needs to be here by 4:30, Claire, or 4:30 by the due date, which would be like, for example, January 16th. And then if it's mailed to us, it needs to be postmarked by the due date. Otherwise, it could be considered late. And of course, if you have questions or concerns, again, it's really important that you read through the documents and your candidate committee report. And then if you're still having some issues, give us a call and we're very happy to answer and walk you through it. That's the general overview on campaign finance reporting. Claire, I'm sure if I missed a few important details, if you wouldn't mind adding, but hopefully I've covered it all.
Yeah. So one question we had in the Q&A was just confirming that the campaign finance reports, that only applies to you if you mark that you are not exempt. If you are spending or receiving less than $2,500, you can mark that you are exempt and you don't need to do campaign finance reports. You can also, if let's say that the time period passes, you might run again, but you aren't currently fundraising or spending any money. You can do a statement of no activity, which is just putting your name of your committee, the reporting period, and then certifying that there was no activity during that time period. Then let's say that you have filed, you intend to run, but maybe you don't turn in nomination papers, or maybe you get eliminated during the primary, or you lose in April. There is questions about how do you terminate your committee. The most important thing is before you can terminate a committee, your committee account must be at a 0 balance. You must not have any funds remaining, but then you can file a termination report. If you are not exempt, you will have to file a final campaign finance report documenting that you have a 0 balance. But then you must also accompany it with a termination report. So this is the Ethics Commission's website. Here is the termination report, and it's very simple. You're going to put the committee name. Please note that when we use state forms, we don't have any ID numbers for committees at a local level. So you can always leave the ID number blank. But then you are going to document if you are not exempt, you're going to document how your funds got to 0. And then you're going to sign that you want to terminate your committee. And then we will stop contacting you with reminders about filing campaign finance report. You would have to we have a question about how long in the future do I have to complete a statement of no activity? You would be, if you are not exempt, you should be filing a statement of no activity for every reporting period. Now, in a non-election year, if you were not exempt, but then you become exempt, you're not spending or receiving more than $2,500 in a calendar year, you can change your filing status. So those are the type of very specific questions we're happy to answer and walk through at our counter for you or via email. But that is how you would do so. So just as we reach time, I want to do a quick recap of your online resources as you are preparing to run for office. So the first is our website, which you can just type in milwaukee.gov/election and it will take you to the same place. We have an entire guide on running for public office. And again, we have the basic steps summarized right here on this main page. It also goes over the certification process, which I didn't really cover, but am happy to do so. And then you have your candidate packet forms, which literally will go through. It has the checklist, it has all of our guides that we've listed, and our campaign finance information. Another useful website is the Elections Commission's website. I've pulled up information on challenges. So if you are running for office, other candidates or members of the public could challenge your nomination papers. So there's an entire guide by the Wisconsin Election Commission that covers common nomination paper challenges. Well, that would be great if it worked. I did actually find a guide that goes over the general requirements and common challenges. Now I want to just see. So where I'm going is elections.wi.gov, candidates, and then I'm going to getting on the ballot. So then there's nomination papers and then challenging nomination papers, which is the general memo that I pulled up. So we highly recommend if there's specific topics where we haven't created a city-specific resource that you look to the state resources, because all of us are going to be following state statute and established guidelines for how we review challenges. You are not certain if you are following along as people are filing. If you go to our website, again, where this 2024 spring election municipal candidates guide is, anytime someone submits forms, we list it on here. We'll put when someone submits their nomination papers and their statement of economic interest. And eventually there will be another column here that states whether or not we are recommending to the Board of Election Commissioners that they be placed on the ballot. We base this on them completing all of the required paperwork and then certifying the required number of nomination signatures. So if you've met all 4 of these columns, then we will be recommending you for certification. If you want to view anyone else's forms, you can click here to see copies of submitted filings. It's going to take you to a Google Drive that's going to put all of that paperwork into which position someone's running for. So we have Aldermanic District 1 through 15. Then we have City Attorney, Comptroller, Mayor, and Treasurer. So if you click into Comptroller, you will see that there are we see the current comptroller has filed the statement of non-candidacy, and then you'll see the current candidates who have filed. This is also where we will be placing nomination papers as they come in. So if you're wanting to look at someone else's nomination papers, you're going to click on that section, click here to see copies of submitted filings to view the nomination papers. Again, we're trying to make everything as open and transparent to you, so that as you're running for public office, you have all of the tools you need. But please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are happy to answer questions so long as we are not becoming your campaign manager or your attorney. And again, we will post this webinar on our website under how to run for public office as soon as possible, along with a printed copy of frequently asked questions, including any questions that were asked today. So hopefully you found this useful. Thank you so much for